Welcome to the InFlow Podcast. I am your host, Michelle Bosch. I see a gaping hole across society that focuses on the outer work and forgets about the inner work, when what we really need is to bridge the gap between prosperity and spirituality to live a life in flow, with inflows of light, inflows of cash, inflows of creativity, inflows of grace in our lives. Each week, join me for powerful messages and interviews that will leave you inspired and ready to step into flow in your higher work. So now, let's go. Welcome to the InFlow Podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Bosch. Excited to be coming to you with a new season of the InFlow Podcast. 2022 edition. Happy New Year, first of all, to all of you, that listen to the show and that really enjoy, ideas, sometimes my ramblings, the thought leaders, the amazing women that I bring here on the show that, talk about not just bringing inflows of cash into our life, but also inflows of grace and of ease. And with that, I want to, get kickstarted this new season. And I was, going over in my head, what should I start it with? And I landed on sharing with all of you something that Jack and I do every single year. And that is come up with either a phrase, a word, a mantra for the year. I think this is something that you more than likely have heard from others as well, that they do. It's something really popular. It has, I think when we started it, I don't know if it was that popular. We've been doing this now for probably, close to a decade. And it's been really, really helpful to really kind of like set the tone for the year. And every single time when we look in retrospect at the end of the year, what happened, we realized that word or that mantra that we had for the year really fit perfectly into what transpired during that year. 2021, for example, for us was a banner year in so many ways. In both our investing business, in our educational business, in our personal lives. And even though it was a banner year, it was a year also with a lot of challenges, with a lot of setbacks. And really setbacks are only setups, for great new things to happen in the coming months. And that's what I am experiencing now that I'm in 2022, that I'm across that threshold on the other side of that portal, basically. And in this year, the word that we landed with, or that I landed with, was Epiphany. And I think that came from an amazing month of December, where I pretty much closed out the year, from the perspective of deliverables and things that I needed to get done, or meetings and connections, whether it be, external with partners, with investors, or with clients, really on December 3rd. And I completely unplugged, went over to Hawaii, spent 10 days in complete solitude, in silence, discovered at the beginning, of the journey, it was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with myself for, 10 days on my own, without kid, without a husband, without the dog, without anyone interrupting, without any deliverables, without anyone, expecting anything from me, and just really devoted to me. And it was incredible. If you've never had a chance to take some time off like that, even if it's just a weekend or a few days to go away, check yourself into a hotel, even if it's just a staycation, where you live, I highly, highly encourage it. And, after watching a few sunsets and getting in tune with the rhythm of nature and slowing down, not just physically, but my mind as well. I landed with sometimes what I would like to describe as these sudden swells of light, or charges of light that just came and swelled and completely, filled my my body, my being, my soul, my spirit. And there were these moments of incredible insights, of downloads, and that I, want to call epiphanies, and the number one epiphany that I had, during that time frame is a state of timelessness, where I wasn't rushing to get anywhere. And I don't know if you are a busy mom like I am, and also an entrepreneur and a professional woman. And we're constantly rushing from one thing to the other. We're rushing, to get out of bed in the morning when the alarm hits. We're rushing to get our kids to school. We're rushing through breakfast. We're rushing down the street to get our kids to school on time. We are rushing from meeting to meeting. We are rushing eating our meals because we have another appointment set right after lunch. And there's this constant rushing of deliverables, of things that need my attention, of decisions that need to be made, of actual work that needs to get done, of analyzing deals and looking at properties and talking to sellers. And there's always a constant rush of getting from one thing to the next, and not really enjoying being as present. Not that I don't make an effort to be present with whoever is in front of me, but there's always in the back of my mind, the fact that, oh my God, it's already, I don't know, 9:55, and in 5 minutes I need to jump on another call with someone else. Yeah. And so if you're like me, you probably have those experiences. And for me, the epiphany was like, my goodness, I keep on rushing. And it's not just in the year of 2022. I've been rushing all my life, to get to the next level, to get to the next stage, to get to the next curve, to get to the next challenge, to get to the next project, to the next goal, to the next up level. Yeah. And I've never given myself the opportunity to really experience timelessness, where I organize my days in such a way that I don't have to feel like I'm rushing everywhere. Because when I am rushing everywhere, I'm making everyone else around me rush as well, including my daughter. I don't want her to feel that life is just a constant rush from one thing to the next. I want her to feel that she can be completely absorbed and lose herself in a specific project, and feel that experience of being timeless, of being one with whatever it may be that she's working on, whether it be homework, and so on. And it's difficult because we're constantly being bombarded, by the outside world that is asking us, that is demanding of us to have structure, to have basically timelines, to have, deadlines. And those are all good. Those are fantastic. I'm not shying away from creating structure, within my days and within my life for 2022, but that I am going to be much more open to flowing within that structure, to bending sometimes, the deadlines if possible, to bending the rules if necessary, and giving and allowing myself and my team, our clients, our sellers, our buyers, our investors, that grace to not have to rush from one thing to the other. It may require that, I'm going to put less stuff into my day. It will require that I delegate more. It will require that I ask for help more, so that I don't have too many things on my plate. And that is something I think that all of us as women, is a malady that we suffer from, of all these things, that come to our plates that we normally don't say no to, that we normally don't set boundaries for ourselves and for others, just healthy boundaries of what is really an emergency, of what is not, of what is something that, yes, you should keep because it's something that brings you joy and pleasure and needs to get done, or is it something that needs to get done but could be done in a much more superior and more competent way by somebody else, and so on and so forth. So it's going to require a little bit of even more time management, but in a different way, decluttering basically my calendar, so that I can experience more of this timelessness, where I have maybe 3 big rocks for the day, and that's it. And even within those 3 big rocks, that I can look at who in my, in my team or in my level of network or of support could help me, advance a project, or get something done, or introduce me to somebody that could help me basically focus on a few critical activities where I can totally lose myself and immerse myself in, that nobody else does as good as I do, that I actually love doing. And then everything else really, is off my plate, so that I can experience more of that timelessness. And so no more rushing, no more hurrying up, to get to the next thing, but really savoring, what I'm working on in that moment, in that specific, period in time. And so that was my first epiphany. My second epiphany, for the year, and, in how I want to, I would say, experience life differently. It comes from really something very, I would say, very personal. And that is, for me, it's 100% time for me to 100% trust that what is showing up is the right thing for me. Like I've always said that, yes, I embrace uncertainty. Yes, I embrace the unknown, and that I'm always ready for it. But I've been always been ready for it from the point of view of always ready for the challenge, and always ready, to fight for whatever it is that I want to get done, or for whatever it is that I want to get accomplished or achieve. And for me, it's a time to say, no, you know what? It's time for me to finally not just talk about it, say it, but actually live it, be in integrity, and trust that God, that life, that whatever is showing up is what needs to be there, and that I don't need to fight anymore, that there's no more fighting necessary for any of my goals, that anything that is a desire and a dream in my life, if God has put it in my heart, that it already exists, that it's already that it has already happened in a different timeline, of course, but that there's a me out there in the future that already exists, with the right opportunities, with the right people, capturing those opportunities to help me accomplish my goals. So it's time to finally 100% trust, to not fight anymore, to not, to recognize that I've already won, that it has, that whatever it is that I claim, it is already there. It's just a lag between me being right now with one foot in the present, and another foot in the future, and that it's up to me to close that gap, and trust that I will be resourceful, that the people that are going to come to my assistance, and that are going to come, into my environment, are the right ones to help me basically bridge that gap and really experience timelessness as I'm accomplishing, whatever that may be, whatever that goal might be. And we have big goals for this year in both our land flipping business, and our multifamily business, and our educational business. As many as we share what we do in real estate investing with others. We want to create 1,000 millionaires from land flipping. We're incredibly passionate, driven, and that will not change. But that now I'm not going to go out there rushing. I'm not going to go out there only finding a sense of aliveness when challenges show up. that I am going to be now going about my goals and going about my mission from the point of view of trusting that it has already happened. And when you know that something has already happened, you act differently, you show up differently, you behave differently, you communicate differently. There's this internal conviction, in you that knows that it's happening, that it's a matter of time, and that you're taken care of, pretty much. So that is epiphany number 2. Epiphany number 3 that I had this year, actually last year in December while I was in Hawaii, and I think it was probably a combination of the beautiful sunsets, the light being reflected on the ocean, on the sand, of the wind, every morning when I was, going on jogs in the mornings, of a 6-day cleanse that I did as well, of the reading, the meditating, and really tending only to my needs. For the very first time in my life, I had, 10 days of complete, like I said, silence and solitude to be with myself. And what I discovered is that, hey, I actually enjoy my company. A lot. And if you have not done that, I highly encourage you to, go out there and try it. In any case, so while I was, in this slow down to really appreciate and smell the roses kind of, situation, during the holidays, the next epiphany that came up for me was, oh my goodness, I feel so loved right now, so taken care of by the ocean, by the sand, by the beach, by the people that were around me, helping me in terms of getting situated. The person that helped me at the car rental company when I was renting my car, the person that was checking me out, when I was doing groceries to kind of have all my things in the condo ready and set up, for those 10 days, with the juicing and so on and so forth. And what I discovered was is that I felt so loved, and I started, feeling this immense feeling of gratitude towards God. And I started thinking of God not as we always have heard, as a character that is masculine in nature, that is always referred as a he, or as Lord, or as father, as male. And I started thinking about the possibility that, wow, what if God, was a woman, and these beautiful ocean breezes, are her breath. And what if, this amazing ocean, that is surrounding me is kind of like her blood. And what if, the sunlight is her warmth. And what if God was a woman, and that really embraces us with its gentleness, with its softness, with this warm embrace, like a mother, takes care of a child. And so I started thinking about that, and it was pretty neat. And so you don't have to see, the world from this perspective of, what if God was a woman? But what I'm trying to bring here to you today is basically to be open to a new way of seeing things, to a new way of doing things. And what if we, laid our difficulties, our old patterns, our misconceptions, our self-doubt, our lack of self-confidence, sometimes our problems and our prayers, and instead of offering them, to this masculine, version of God, what if we laid them and gave those over to the warm embrace of say, an energy that is that feels more like a mother, that feels more like a mother, and that has that, maternal affection, and where, usually when at least my daughter, comes up with, problems or difficulties or whatever, she brings them, and she knows that they will be taken care of, and that those difficulties, whatever might be, dissolve, and they just get dissolved in sometimes a very soft, gentle way, sometimes in a firm way, but sometimes in a very soft, gentle way. And so, that's just something, that just came up there while I was there. And it may have had to do with me being incredibly supported and surrounded over the last several years by women mentors, by women inside of our companies, by women that are, part of our leadership team, by role models that, that are female. And it didn't used to be that way for me. And actually, that's one of the reasons why, I love doing this podcast and love talking specifically to women. Because I want others to have, a little bit and contribute in some way to something that, that feels softer, gentler, but that doesn't mean that doesn't, with firmness and strength and swiftness, can accomplish and get things done, and so that's one of the things that came, while I was down there. And then, yes, the last epiphany that I had while I was over there was that I realized that what got me to where I am today is not going to get me to where I need to go. And that I constantly, I don't know if constantly, but that I have to actively, is what I want to say. I have to actively look for new things and new ways of being, of doing things, because what I have learned and applied has already gotten me here, but only new things are going to get me to, to new places, and not just get me to new places, but in the process, enjoy the journey and enjoy, how I'm accomplishing the things that I'm accomplishing. And so what got us here is not what's going to get us to the next level. We need to constantly be curious about the new things that we want to learn and actively seek those things out. Actively seek them out. I'm creating space, in my schedule for things that I want to learn. And I'm kind of like putting like big rocks of, of things that I want to learn in each of the 4 quarters. And I'm not cluttering those quarters with a lot of things. I'm picking one thing that I want to learn that is new, that I don't know much about, of opportunities of the future that I see, coming up and bubbling up, where I'm genuinely curious and want to learn about them. And so this is the year of Epiphanies. I so wish the same for you, that you have a year where you don't feel rushed, where you're curious about new things, that you're actually, having some structure within your days, but at the same time that you are giving yourself grace and the opportunity to, to flow within that structure, and sometimes even bend that structure, so that you can enjoy, the process, that you don't have to rush through things, that you don't feel like you have to fight for everything that you want to accomplish, so that you can feel certain in your convictions, so that you can feel trust, as you move along, versus feeling like, because you're feeling rushed, you're not trusting, your next step or your decisions. And that you experience this timelessness, this feeling of being absorbed, whether it be enjoying a wonderful massage, or doing homework with your child, or preparing a meal for yourself or for your family, or talking to a buyer, or talking to a seller, or talking to your team, maybe training your team, that you lose yourself in whatever activity it is that you're doing. That is my wish for you. And that, like I said, this year be a year of breakthrough where you do things differently, and where we leave behind, the rushing, the self-doubt, the uncertainty, and in that you live with your number one superpower, which is trusting in yourself, trusting in the goodness of others, trusting in the unknown, or trusting in God, really, because God is the unknown, and that God, could possibly be a softer, gentler version than the one that you may have grown up and imagined, and that is there to help you, dissolve all your difficulties with ease, with grace, that it doesn't have to be all just hard work, that has a place, and that there is a place also for enjoyment, for joy, for things to come easy. And because they already, if they're in your heart, they already exist in a dimension, in a different timeline with you in the future. And it's just a matter of closing that gap with graciousness. So thank you so much for tuning in. I'm excited to kickstart the year with this episode, and I am looking forward to having you on an episode in the future of InFlow. Also, for you ladies, we are starting our next masterclass come January 17th. I'm not sure when the publishing of this podcast episode will be, but it's happening inside of our Facebook group. You can register at landprofitmaster.com. It's 9 a.m. Pacific for an entire week of teaching all things land flipping from the point of view of you becoming a master, of having a life rich in entrepreneurial freedom, of really stepping into your greatness, your purpose, your next level of leadership, of courage, of finance, of freedom, really, for you and your family. Thank you so much. And if you feel called and resonate, with coming and joining us during the masterclass, we would be happy to have you there. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
I hope this episode left you feeling inspired and ready to get inflows of cash, inflows of light, and inflows of faith in your life. I welcome your reviews on iTunes. Please leave me a review and help me create an amazing community of women in flow. Thank you, as always, for sharing your voice by going to michellebosch.com and joining the conversation about this show. And while you're there, grab a copy of my 10 Commandments to Living a Life in Flow. You can also follow me on Facebook at Michelle Bosch and on Instagram at Michelle Bosch Official. Thank you very much, and until the next one.